Hello everybody! Happy Inauguration Day! Today, Donald Trump is inaugurated the 45th President of the United States. Now there are plenty of people who are very excited and happy about this, and a lot of people think it's the end of the world. But that's something I really understand. Whether or not you think Donald Trump is going to single-handedly summon the apocalypse, there are plenty of other issues that are seriously threatening our world and our country in particular. So I want to share a little bit of a story with you. A couple weeks before the election, I was feeling very anxious about what was going to happen. And election time is always a very ugly time for any country. And I was sitting in my room praying my rosary. And at this point, I think I need to clarify something. My imagination is incredibly interactive. I think that's the only way I can explain it. It'll seem like this is some sort of an apparition, but it's not. I assure you, it is all in my head. So I was meditating on the assumption. I have this image of, Our Lady ascending into heaven, this massive procession of angels and saints and trumpets, and there's this wonderful, joyous, loud hullabaloo. And I feel building up this intense anxiety for the elections, for my country, for my world, everything that's going on. The best way I can describe it is like it felt like a boulder was rolling down a hill and I knew it was coming. So I felt it right on top of me and I sidestepped and I redirected it. I took that huge boulder and instinctively put it in Mary's hands as she was going up to heaven. I was, Mary, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. It's in your hands. You take it up to heaven. You deal with it there. Just take care of it. And I opened my eyes. And this whole heavenly procession has just stopped. And they're staring at me. There's just dead silence. And Our Lady is holding this thing. She smiles at me, just slightly amused. She opens her fingers, and dust blows away. And that was so powerful for me. That this massive boulder that was about to crush me was nothing but dust in the hands of Our Lady that wasn't even worth bringing up to heaven. And isn't it true that these sorts of problems are relatively small in the grand scheme of things? And history is just full of wars and conquests and empires rising and falling. From our perspective, being so far removed from all that happened then, we see how incredibly fleeting and short-term even, 1,000-year-long dynasties are. We only remember them as dates now. These problems seem so big and crushing, and they give us so much fear because they're all we can see. It's in your face all the time. So I think the key in dismissing these fears is to look through the eyes of eternity. To remember always that this is not our home and that an eternal home is waiting for us somewhere else. And when we consider that, worldly power really doesn't mean anything. It concerns us to the extent that it allows us to live our spiritual lives and to bring Christ to other people. And sometimes that can be done better in times of great persecution than in times of great prosperity. Not that I'm saying persecution is a good thing, but God turns bad things into much better things than the badness that they are. That makes sense? Temporal power, whether good or bad, and temporal warfare are transient things. And as people who live in the temporal world, we do have duties to that. And it's not something that I'm totally dismissing. We have duties to our country, we have duties to our neighbor, but that is not the most important good. We have to consider that our life as we know it now, as well as our deaths, they're very temporary states of being that everybody's going to go through at some point. When you're talking spiritual warfare, you're talking about eternal defeats and victories. Literally, people being burned in hell eternally. On the other hand, you have in heaven people being able to love God eternally, never stopping, eternal happiness, eternal beatitude, everything good and wonderful and great, never ever ending. So if we keep our eyes pinned on eternity, that'll pull us out of this dark mass of bad news that we always live in. And it'll give us a different perspective so that we won't be so fearful about countries falling and everything like that. And instead we get to worry about spiritual things, which, come to think of it, can be really overwhelming and despairing in its own right. So I guess that's what my next video will have to be about, how not to despair in spiritual warfare. I hope this video was helpful for you if you are experiencing lots of fear and anxiety about the future. Worry more about the spiritual future, which will redirect your anxiety to a better area that you can have more hope for. That was a pretty not satisfying ending, but I guess you just have to wait for the next video to be satisfied. See you later, guys! Happy Inauguration Day, and congratulations, Mr. President. Bye.